Hi everybody, I'm Zanimvula and you're watching Girl Boss SA YouTube, and today we're talking about the Spring Equinox. The Spring Equinox is what marks the beginning of spring. The Spring Equinox is on its way. The Spring Equinox usually occurs between the 20th and the 22nd of September. The reasons we do things like say spring days on the 1st of September is because we've been taken so out of alignment with our actual calendar and we don't really know when things occur. Understanding the equinox starts with understanding basically the etymology of the word. Equi means equal and nox is night. During the spring equinox, the Earth's axis doesn't point away from or towards the sun, which means that the northern and the southern hemisphere receive the same amount of light. They receive equal amounts of light. So our day and night are equal across both hemispheres on the spring equinox. It is the same on the autumn equinox because then the sun is moving away from the southern hemisphere for us to going to the northern hemisphere. So this is their autumn equinox. It is our spring equinox because life is returning to the southern hemisphere because the sun god is returning. The sun is the source of all life. The sun is returning to renew life in the southern hemisphere, to renew life for us that is now in nature. We are a part of nature. So in alignment with that, we then get to align with that energy by harnessing the energy of the spring equinox in the spring. This is the beginning of the year for us. The 23rd of September marks the beginning of the year. So actually what it is that the spring equinox marks the beginning of the year. So whatever day the spring equinox falls on is the beginning of the year. It isn't always concrete on the 23rd. Sometimes it's on the 20th, 21st, 22nd. And I think this year it's on the 22nd. My family spring equinox celebration is on the 20th. But then it's something that can go on the 3 days. In that 3-day period, you're actually really, it's really important to celebrate that time, to celebrate, to honor the sun god, honor the renewal of life, appreciate life. In terms of our ancestors, they were very in alignment with like all cosmic events. Their celebration of the cosmos was observance. Like that's how they connected with the energy, that's how they aligned, overstanding the movement of the cosmos, the movement of the stars, the moon, the sun. So their alignment also then was in the way that they built everything, their homes, the buildings, the architecture was always in alignment with the cosmos. I explained in a previous video how the pyramids of Giza were built in alignment with Orion's belt. The Sphinx is strategically placed in alignment with the summer solstice in June. A lot of archaeologists like to suggest that our ancestors basically found that rock by accident, but the accuracy of the placement of it suggests otherwise. It is in perfect alignment, and it's not just in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, actually, the accuracy of all of the architecture in ancient Egypt inspired a lot of the architecture around the world. There are a lot of monuments around the world that are built to honor the spring equinox. For instance, we have the Stonehenge in England, which always remind me of Inzalo Yelanga. Inzalo Yelanga is referred to as Adam's calendar. It was named by white people Adam's calendar. It's in Mpumalanga and it is the world's oldest calendar. It's a rock formation. It's just the most accurate rock formation that there's ever been in the history of humanity, and that is in Mpumalanga. That's the world's oldest calendar. There's also the Neolithic Henge in Germany. Actually check up, if you look up, there's so many of them. They honor the movement of the sun, they honor the solstices, the equinoxes, and they're inspired by the structures of the architecture in ancient Kemet because that was the greatest civilization of all time. The spring equinox is essentially the return of the sun god, Asa, Ura, Uramasedi, Mbilngandi, Ukamata. He's returning from the north hemisphere to restore life, to renew life. We see things start to green again. He is referred to as the green god. He was depicted as a green god oftentimes on the walls in ancient Egypt. So his principle is renewal. According to the Sacred Magic of Ancient Egypt, a book I highly recommend for anyone who is looking to understand the way in which our ancestors lived and how they connected to nature and the gods and alchemy. He basically reconstitutes that which has been dismembered, disassembled. He restores what has been broken. He returns to us after a point of spiritual blockages, creative blockages, because winter is like a blockage period where nothing can really grow, and a lot of plants don't survive, and a lot of life doesn't survive. So he returns to renew that life. He is the god of second chances. So his role in the creation process is crucial. He is one of the 5 children of our sky goddess Nut, who I spoke about in a previous video. His function is germination, which means that he is the force that brings forth that creation force, or that creative force in all living beings, that creative force that's innate within us all as living beings, within us, the creatures, the plants, all living creatures. He is that phase of creative energy, of that creation flow. So he renews that, he revitalizes that, he is that revitalizing force. That's how his energy translates in us as human beings. That's how it translates in the plants. That's how, we see then things start to green again. After this winter period of things not being able to grow, we see just a sudden emergence of creation, of growth, of like fruitful manifestation. So he infuses vitality, appreciation for life, and recovery. So he's represented by the ram, which is the animal symbol of the zodiac sign Aries. Aries is derived from Asa. The ram, which symbolizes Aries, symbolized Asa in ancient Kemet. Outside all of Asa's temples were statues of the ram. Aries is essentially the Greek interpretation of Asa. Aries is the first sign in the zodiac cycle, in perfect alignment with Asa, because Asa is the first season in the year. He's the first month of the year in our calendar. He marks the beginning of the new year. Another animal representation of Asa in ancient Kemet is the hare, the rabbit, which is the origin of the Easter bunny. The origin of the Easter celebration is the spring equinox. It's the vernal equinox, which was celebrated in the Northern Hemisphere in March, because their spring equinox is in March, the time of our autumn equinox. That's when the sun is moving away from us and going to them. So that's when they would celebrate their spring equinox, and that is the origin of the Easter bunny, because the Easter bunny represents Asa, represents the return of Asa to the Northern Hemisphere. Kemet is actually in the Northern Hemisphere. The Anglo-Saxons and different cultures in the Northern Hemisphere in that time would celebrate the spring equinox with a festival at the beginning of the spring equinox. And at the beginning of the festival, they would lay colorful eggs at the altar of the spring goddess. This is the goddess of the East, the goddess of rebirth, the goddess of resurrection. It was basically the word that Easter was derived from. And she was the goddess that they honored at the beginning of the spring season, because she brought back new life. In her return, she returned with a hare. She was depicted returning with a magical rabbit, and that hare was representative of Asa. She represented Oset. When we are having our spring equinox, they're now having their season of Oset. She was the female deity that also was responsible for reassembling Asa, and that is in the creation story that I will get to when I do the African creation story video. I feel like I say this in every video when I'm gonna do the African, and I will do it. It's coming. The origin of Easter eggs are the symbol that they would place on the altar. They would place colorful eggs on the altar because the eggs, they symbolized renewal. So they symbolized rebirth. That is how they would celebrate. They would have their ceremonies where they would color the eggs in different ways, decorate them, and they would place them on the altar of Oset, the altar of Eostar, to celebrate her return with the sun god. This was basically what we call today a pagan holiday or a pagan festival. During the year 325 AD, during the Council of Nicaea, Easter was proclaimed a celebration of the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the vernal equinox or the spring equinox. So their celebration of Easter with the Easter bunny and the Easter eggs that were derived from Kemet happens in March after their spring equinox. They're in perfect alignment with that. We're out of alignment with that. Our celebration of Easter is also in March, which makes no sense. It's totally out of alignment with nature. It's totally out of alignment with spirit. And that's why we have all these problems, because we have no sense of timing and no sense of direction. We just do whatever is being done in the West without questioning the origin or the history. This is our Easter celebration. This is our Easter period. This is actually the time to decorate your eggs and to do all of that stuff that you do at Easter. It at least helps to understand why we're doing it, because when we celebrate the resurrection, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, we need to know that that death and resurrection also originates from Kemet. That's the death and resurrection of Asa, which is then symbolized by the return of the sun god. The story is all detailed in the creation story and the story of Asa, Oset, and Heru. That whole story in Kemet predates Christianity by many thousands of years. Christianity is the youngest religion. I never really understood why during Easter, when it's the celebration of Jesus Christ and his death and resurrection, where the Easter bunny and Easter eggs come into that whole thing. But with that understanding, you can at least now take it and place it at the right time, so that you're aligning with the timing of things, you're aligning with nature, you're aligning with spirit, and that helps you to then tap into the creation source and start to really manifest results in your life. Create an altar for the Easter goddess. Look into her, do some research. Obviously everything that it is that you do, I always highly encourage research. Don't do things that you don't understand, because then you manifest things in your life that you don't understand. Ultimately, celebrating the spring equinox, aligning with the spring equinox and tapping into the God energy of the spring equinox. Get outside. Just be outside. A large part of our ancestors' alignment with nature came from observance. It was about observance and understanding the ways that nature works, the workings of nature. That's how they were able to tap into it. Observance and appreciation, because that's how you align with God, and that's how you connect with God. It's an appreciation of God's energy, because you're observing his creation process. That's how you appreciate him. It's all good and well to know that God did this and he said let there be light, and he created this and he created all of the creatures. But if we don't respect the creatures that he created, then we don't really respect him. So it's about really respecting God, respecting the creation source, the creative force, and tapping into that nehe, that eternal force, by observing, by surrounding yourself with the energy, observing it, appreciating it. So just get out, be outside, absorb the sunlight, enjoy the nature, enjoy the sounds of the birds, enjoy just watching the growth, because you can see even like the trees that you had outside, you can see were like dry and desolate for a while, and now you see them start to grow again. Just really appreciate what is happening around you. You can invite friends, family, loved ones, have a feast, have a meal. A feast is always a great way to celebrate and to honor the gods and to thank the gods. You put some food on the altar if you're a family that has an altar. If you're a person that has an altar, when you are serving food, take a plate of that food to your altar and you say a prayer, or you send the energy out to the universe, that thank you energy, that energy of gratitude. That's the powerful energy that's actually going to manifest real results in your life, because you are giving thanks to the gods, and that's something that they really love and they appreciate, and they feed off of that energy. A lot of people are feeling they're doing a lot of planting and gardening at this point. I've seen a lot of people get into that thing of like, yeah, I'm doing my garden, I've just redone my garden, and that's really powerful. If you're doing that and you just naturally feel the energy to do that, then you're really in alignment. That is alignment. That's proper alignment, because that's what you should be doing this season. It's a really powerful ritual to tap into the creative force. And also bringing plants into your house, that's also really a good way to infuse the energy of nature into your home, just to circulate that energy, because plants have healing power. Also crystals. I'm gonna encourage crystals. I'm gonna encourage any earth element. Earth elements are what will align you more than anything this season. So I'm talking plants, soil in your home, plants, soil, crystals, lots and lots of crystals, because those are from the earth, those are of the earth. The malachite crystal, more than anything, that is the seasonal crystal. That's the crystal of Asa. It's green, it guards the body against radiation, it clears electromagnetic pollution, and it's a massive boost for manifestation, for manifesting abundance. It's really good for the heart chakra because it's green. Also, if you're able to, I highly recommend visiting Inzalo Yelanga. It's in Mpumalanga. That's where you'll actually be able to see the beauty of the spring equinox. You'll be able to see the precision of the alignment that the rock formation was built with by our ancestors. I haven't been myself. I hear beautiful things about it all the time. I really want to go. I'm looking forward to going next year. I know we'll be going next year with my family. Just have a good time. you know, observe, feel the sun, feel nature, tap into nature, because you also will intuitively know what it is that you need to do to align with the energy. I trust you're going to have a beautiful spring equinox. Love and light. Take care of yourself, and always do your research. Like, whatever it is that you want to do your research. The universe will meet you halfway. Love and light. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I want to say thank you so much for subscribing. We reached 1,000 subscribers. I asked and you subscribed, and I appreciate. Please do keep subscribing, keep liking the videos. This video comes as a request from, you know, one of the comments in the previous video, so do comment, ask for more, whatever it is that you want me to talk about. Thank you for watching.